So the topic tonight will be in infectious diseases / risk-taking, tefillin, and mitzitza b'peh. We'll see if we get to all of them tonight. So really the fundamental questions, we know the Torah tells us v'chai bahem. The Torah tells us it's the Torah of life, v'lo yamos behem, and save the big three except for the three commandments of if someone puts a gunshot and says not to commit avodah zarah, idol worship, adultery, or murder, save the big three. It's v'chai b'hem. You have to you violate the commandments. So you violate Shabbos. It's better to violate one Shabbos and keep many more. And then many halachas throughout ushvartem lo l'nafsho sechem, preventive medicine throughout halacha. We find an emphasis on health. In fact, because ultimately our body's is a gift, and basically the more healthy our body is, the more hakaras hatov, and the more we'll be able to use our body to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So the whole essence is to be healthy. So the shaila is, what happens in a case where, well, the classical case is a kidney transplant, because other transplants most of the time you're dead. The heart transplant, that gets into a whole different topic of brain dead or not. But in terms of a kidney transplant, the issue is, in theory, you only need one kidney to live. Of course, why did God give us two? That's a separate issue. But you need one kidney to live. And therefore, but if you give up a kidney, you're taking a risk that you might need that kidney. You might have kidney failure yourself. So the question is, am I obligated, permitted, is it commendable to give my kidney to save someone else? For instance, I'm a friend of mine, Eddie Reichman. Maybe he's big in medical ethics, right? So he said that it was about a couple of years ago in the Young Israel Woodmere, someone put up one of these index cards with, I need a kidney, this is the number to call. So Young Israel Woodmere, like hundreds, thousands of people pass through there all the time. So he said he got 8 calls from strangers, and there was one match, and the guy did it. So I don't know if Eddie Reich, he spoke to the guy, he said, like your parents think like you're crazy, like you're donating a kidney to somebody you don't know? Oh, he said, no, I'm about to anyway, they think I'm crazy anyway, it doesn't make a difference. But either way, so we see there are people who even, it's one thing, and I know someone, gave one to his father. It's the same, same mitzvah, but to give a stranger is even a different level, like, someone off the street needs a kidney. So, is this a commendable thing? Is this prohibited? Is it a mandatory? And the case with infectious disease, it's a similar issue, is that there's an infectious disease around, and we'll get to Rav Chaim's Shita, Rav Chaim Soloveitchik, that led to the infectious, there was cholera then, and there are other infectious diseases today. Whether you're a medical professional, maybe there's a certain level of risk, maybe you have to take higher. That's a separate discussion. Let's assume you're not a medical professional, you're a regular person, they need help, and they take bodies off the street, and obviously if you're involved, you're going to take all the precautions, but you might catch it, you might die. So the question is, are you obligated to help? Is it prohibited to help? What's the story? So let's go back. We'll go back to a bunch of sources, and we'll try to figure it out. So the main source, or the first source everyone likes quoting, the Beis Yosef. In fact, you can learn all the Beis Yosef, but if you don't get to the last one, you're not going to know this Beis Yosef. The last Beis Yosef, just about in Choshen Mishpat, quotes Hagos Maimonides, which basically quotes the Yerushalmi. It's interesting, where is this Yerushalmi? Rav Chaim Heller, who was one of the Rosh Yeshiva at YU. Interesting, he had a kesher with the Rav of Soloveitchik from back in the Berlin days. And he was into all these, he knew all these languages, Greek, I guess he knew Gerses. And he said, we don't really know if the Yerushalmi, there are different cases where with many Yerushalmis are quoted, we have no idea where they are or they're lost. But the bottom line is the poskim quote it, so we accept the halacha that it's there, we just don't know exactly which Yerushalmi they're quoting. So he says we don't know exactly which Yerushalmi. The Rav apparently used to sit in shir of Rav Chaim Heller. So, however, the Netziv and other Achronim do give suggestions. They think they know the Yerushalmi. It's a Yerushalmi in Trumas in the 8th Perek. I think it's 8.2 or 8.4, I don't remember. But the Yerushalmi in Trumas talks about a case where Reb Imi, who was a great rabbi, was taken captive. And basically there was no ransom, so it wasn't like, okay, pay the money. But basically they're going to kill him, because I guess that's why they kidnapped him, to kill him. So the Yerushalmi quotes a dispute between either different garrisons, Rav Yonason or Rav Yochanan, who says, well, what am I going to do? Bring out the tachrichim, bring out the shrouds. I guess that's it. I mean, they're going to kill him. And Rish Lakish says either, and it could be back to his previous history, he was about Tshuva. He used to be they say he used to be a thief, a bank robber. So he went down to his basement, took out the machine gun or whatever he used, and said, either I'm going to go in, either we're both going to come out alive or we're both going to come out dead. I think apparently the end is that he got him out. But so we see, Rish Lakish said, you're going to go out. So it was a machlokes between Rav Yochanan and Rish Lakish. So the Beis Yosef quotes from Lagos Maimonides quotes. So what's the so do we see from this Yerushalmi, according to Rish Lakish, that one has the chiyuv to put himself in sakana, suffix sakana. You can't commit suicide; it's a separate prohibition. There's a chiyuv to put yourself into suffix sakana in order to try to save someone from vadai sakana. If you do nothing, apparently Ravimi, as much as you know, is basically going to definitely be dead. If you do something, so maybe you might, you may not. So, and that's what the Beis Yosef, they borrow the phrase from Dinei Mamanos, Ein Safek Motzi Midei Vadai. That's the lesson there. That you're only a suffix sakana, he's a vadai sakana. So Ein Safek Motzi Midei Vadai, and therefore you have a chiyuv to go in and put yourself in suffix sakana to save that. That's what they all quote as the Yerushalmi. Whether this is Yerushalmi, who knows? But this Yerushalmi, but this is not. Yerushalmi says it somewhere. But the Netziv and others quote this is the Yerushalmi. So there's a couple of questions with this proof. Because as number one, as I mentioned, it's a machlokes in the Yerushalmi. Rav Yochanan versus Rish Lakish. Who says that we pass him like Rish Lakish over Rav Yochanan? That's one kasha. And secondly, let's assume we go with Rish Lakish. But as Rav Moshe points out, I think Rav Kook has a tshuva on this as well. The fact that Rav Lakish went in and risked his life to save Rav Imi, does that mean that it's an absolute obligation? Maybe it was a midas chasidus. Maybe it's a lefnimisher. The fact that Rish Lakish went in and did it, why does that prove a chiv? In fact, because we know that maybe, as Rav Moshe says, it could be a mitzvah. It could be an interesting, I might as well bring up, like we have in this week's parsha, because this, let's say, like the mitzvah of tzitzis. The mitzvah of tzitzis is a mitzvah min Torah, but it's a conditional mitzvah. If you're wearing a four-cornered garment, you're obligated to put on, tzitzis. So there's no aveira not to per se, but if you do it, you get a mitzvah min Torah, or similarly, like Rav Moshe's famous tshuva, he was asked, is there a mitzvah to live is there a mitzvah of Yishuv Eretz? So interesting that it was written in 1952, post Medina. He doesn't seem to make a distinction whether it's Medina or not, whether there's a chiyuv of Yishuv Eretz Yisrael. Now he writes, on one hand, there's the Sholeach. On one hand, the Ramban writes there's a mitzvah chiyuv is to live in Eretz Yisrael. On the other hand, Tosfos Rav Chaim HaKohen at the end of Ksubas writes, we don't have a mitzvah Bizman Hazeh during his time because of Sakanas Dracham, danger of getting there, or because of it's too difficult to keep the mitzvahs of Tshuva Ma'aseh. Alvin Hesed said it doesn't apply during his day anymore. But either way, that was the Shaila. So basically, Rav Moshe has no Tshuva, but basically, he says we follow the Ramban, but he has his own explanation in the Ramban. He says the pshat is, or whether it's in the Ramban or not, but he says there's a mitzvah harishus. In other words, You have no. It's not like eating matzah. I have to. In fact, it was funny. I think it was the Gerber. One of the Hasidic Rebbeim put up a sign that there's a mitzvah to vote, like for this one of these Israeli elections. So one of the Hasidim came running to. You mean it's like a mitzvah of eating matzah? He said no, it's like a mitzvah of eating maror. It's more like. But either way, so he points out that the Rav Moshe writes that there's no absolute obligation because the Rambam writes that even though it's usher to leave Eretz Yisrael, but there's no issur of being in Chutz. If there was an absolute obligation to live in Eretz Yisrael, there'd be an issur to live in Chutz Laretz. So therefore, Rav Moshe has. So therefore, he says it's no raya. Rish Lakish did a mitzvah, he did a mitzvah, but to tell me to learn out to codify this halacha for everyone else, it's not compelling. And third,
is it actually codified? This is the basic. But
no, he's just saying
doesn't
no, right. We'll get to that in a second. Yeah, but right, it's in the base. The base Yosef is writing it as a chiyuv, so we'll get to that your point in a minute. And thirdly, who was the person who was Rav Imi? Rav Imi was a big Talmud Chacham apparently, and other Acharonim bring down from the Sefer HaChasidim that a Talmud Chacham has a status of a din of a tzibur, a din of a rabbim. So that's a different shiloh. So maybe to risk your life to save a rabbim, so that's a separate shiloh. Maybe yes, maybe not. But you can't bring me a raya for one-on-one. So the Yerushalmi isn't so compelling. If this is the Yerushalmi, again, the Yerushalmi says it. And then, in fact, interesting, it's another pshat why the Yerushalmi wouldn't be compelling. They bring down, actually, it could be Rish Lakish Rishitasan, because there's a Gemara in Ksuvis, I believe. I think it's like Ayin Zayin, Ayin Ches. It talks about staying away from infectious diseases. You should stay away from them because you might catch them. And then, on the other hand, they praise Rish Lakish for coming in contact with those who had an infectious disease, and he taught them Torah. So the Ritva asked, like, how could he do it? How could he risk his life to teach Torah? It's in the Gemara says to stay away from it. So the Ritva answer is based on a Gemara in Sota. The Gemara in Sota, Daf Chav Aleph, writes the concept of someone who does a mitzvah. we have a concept shluchei mitzvah ino nizakin, etc. But the Gemara, it's actually that ties into that's a Gemara in the Gemara in Psachim. I don't know if we'll have time to get, but the question of doing a mitzvah, like the Gemara wants to look, you do bedikas chametz in a place which is infested with snakes. So maybe we'll come back to that if we have time at the end. But the Gemara in Sota says you do a mitzvah with Shema, so then it protects you. And if you're learning Torah, as the Beis HaLevi writes, even after you finish learning, the Torah always protects you because you have Yediyas HaTorah, etc. So the Gemara in Sota writes that if you learn Torah L'Shema, it protects you. So the Gemara says in Psachim, Shulchei Mitzvah, protects you if it's Lo Shchicha Hezeka. But the Gemara in Sota takes it to the next level. If you do the Mitzvah L'Shema, or if you do the Torah L'Shema, it protects you even from something which is a common Hezek. So comes along the Ritvan, right? That's the pshat. Rish Lakish wasn't worried because he was on that level. He learned Torah L'Shema, and therefore he was able to go and help the people, or teach Torah to the people who had the infectious diseases. And who I did, maybe it's Rishitas, and Rish Lakish felt he didn't have to worry risking his life to save Rav Imi because he was on that level of, that's a summary now. But either way, the Yerushalmi, there is a Yerushalmi like that, whether it's this one or not. So the Sma brings down Lazer's point, and others bring down the Piskei Tshuva. But if you look in the Machaber, it's not codified. If you look in the Rambam, the Rif, all the Rishonim, and in the Shulchan Aruch, it's not codified. So the Sma wants to say, look, we don't paskin like this Yerushalmi because it's not brought down in the Shulchan Aruch. That point isn't so pashut because the question is, what do I really think? Not what I really think, but what does Rav Yosef Cairo think? In other words, when he writes something in the Beis Yosef, Is that, what's the Zikr Sefer? Is the Zikr Sefer the Beis Yosef? Is the Zikr Sefer the Shulchan Aruch? So we don't have to speculate. He says this himself. He writes in the introduction, why am I writing the Shulchan Aruch? I already wrote the Beis Yosef. And I spent all my time. You know why I'm writing this? It's, for Talmidei Chachamim, who don't have the time to chazir the whole Torah and Beis Yosef every week, every year, whatever it was. So this is something more doable. You chazir the Shulchan Aruch. And also I wrote it for babies, for kids. People with Beis Yosef goes to the sugyas. It's difficult for for little kids who can't learn yet. I wrote the Shulchan Aruch. So therefore, mashma from this, that if you want to know what I really hold, go look at the Beis Yosef. So I'm just saying. So therefore, some people say the fact that
No. Then why? In the Beis Yosef, you're going to have the pilpul, but you need to know the halacha.
No, but he's saying What he's saying is that he didn't put everything down. It's just a review. The fact that
I thought the pertinent point.
Right, that'll be the counter.
And the pilpul, and the hasmad, and all the other things you're going to find in the Beis Yosef.
Right. So that's the counter. That's the counter argument in terms of some say he didn't put everything down. In other words, if you really want to know the whole sugya, co-learn, because he brings down halacha in the Beis Yosef. Beis Yosef halacha sefer. So if you want to know the whole sugya, you want to know everything, go look at it. Here, it's more like Manak notes. So it's not. You're not going to get 100 on your test on Manak notes because if the teacher asks you. I'm just saying is so. All right. Or you could say the halacha is important in this. You think he would have put in. But okay. So either way the Yerushalmi says it wherever the Yerushalmi is, and we know I think it's the Rif writes in Erevin, if we have a machlokes Bavli and Yerushalmi, we go with the Bavli because it's Basra, it's after. But however, that's only if there's a machlokes. We don't fundamentally disregard a Yerushalmi. If there's a Yerushalmi and there's no Bavli, then we go with, so we have a Yerushalmi that says you have a chiyuv to risk your life to save someone else. So if we don't find any Bavli, so then that should be the halacha. So if we find the Bavli again, so then we can pass it against Yerushalmi. So the Achronim search for different Gemaras in Shas Bavli to show against the Yerushalmi. So we'll take a couple of them. One is a Gemara in Nidarim. There's a Gemara in Nidarim. I think at the end, I think Ayin Tes or Daf Pei, right around there. It talks about a case where it's like the different towns, and one town has a lot of water. They have enough water to drink and enough water to do the laundry. And this other town next to them, or not so next to them, doesn't even have enough water to drink. So the question is, does the first town have to give up the water that they're using for laundry to give? So let me just point out, it's not like laundry today. The Gemara is assuming that it was a suffix sakana. It was like health issues, infection. Like if you didn't have money for your laundry, it's not just like, okay, so you won't smell as good today. So it was a case of suffix sakana. So that was the shaila. Do you have to put yourself in a suffix sakana to save someone from a badai sakana? So seems to be a dispute in the Bavli, but the Shiltas we seem to pass in like the sheet that says no. The town one does not have to give the water up to town two. So we see from this Gemara that one is not obligated to put yourself in suffix sakana to save someone else from vadei sakana. That's one Gemara. There's another Gemara, the Gemara in Nida, Daf Samach Aleph. The Gemara says that Rabbi Tarfon, first the Gemara talks about we shouldn't be makabel lashon hara. However, but you have to be choshesh for it. You can't ignore it, but don't accept it. In other words, if you're putting a job up for someone to work behind the cash register, and there's a call out, the guy's a thief, I wouldn't accept the lashon hara, but I'd check into it first. And there was a call, the B'nai Golila, there was a call that these people murdered someone, and the government was looking for them. And they went to Rav Tarfon to hide them. They went to Rav Tarfon to hide them. And what happened was, is the Rav Tafrin said, basically, if I don't take you in, then you're probably going to die. But if I do take you in, then what's going to happen to me? In other words, different Rishonim how you learn the Gemara, but how some Rishonim learn is, basically, it's a case where Rav Tafrin wasn't willing to put himself at risk and his family at risk to save someone else. Others say it might not be right because maybe he felt they were guilty and they deserved to be caught, which is a separate issue in terms of giving people over to their authorities. In terms of it's a big issue today, which cases of abuse. Do you call the police? Do you speak to someone else? But so either way. But the way some Rishonim learn is that he said basically, I'm assuming you're innocent, but am I risking me and my family? His family life might be a different child. Let's assume his own life. You'd have to get permission from his family if he wanted to do that. But he wasn't even willing to risk his own life to save someone else. So we see from this Gemara Nida, another raya that you're not obligated to put yourself in Safek Sakana to save someone from Vadai Sakana. Another Gemara, yeah.
In the Midbar, if you have water.
Yeah, I'll get to that Gemara. Yeah, I'll get to that. I'm saving that one for last. Yeah, that'll be the right. Yeah. The Gemara in Sanhedrin. What was it? Ayin Ches, so we never put it in. The Gemara in Sanhedrin. The Gemara talks about Minayin. How do you know that if someone's Chavero or not Chavero is drowning in the sea, or you're attacked by animals, by beasts, that you have to save them? So the Gemara says, "Osaman odam reyecha." So, and then the Gemara goes on. We have another pasuk also, "V'hashivosalo." Again, different Rishonim how you learn the Gemara, which one is teaching me what. But you have two psukim. So the Gemara is, what do I need two psukim? Why do I need go saman adam reyecha and v'hashivosalo? So the Gemara says, if I only had go saman adam reyecha, I know that if someone's drowning in the water and I'm a lifeguard, I know how to swim. Or if I could throw in a life tube, then I do it. But how do I know if I have to jump in? Or how do I know that I have to pay money to pay a lifeguard to do it? Kamash malam v'hashivosalo, that I need that even I have to spend my own money to save someone. That's the Gemara. So the Achronim asks, the Gemara should have said a better raya. That said something even stronger. I need the second pasuk for to tell me that I even have to risk my life to go ahead and save someone from Vadai Sakana. For the fact the Gemara did not marshal that as something we learn out from the second pasuk. Therefore, we learn out that, again, another raya, there's no chiyuv to put yourself in Safek Sakana to save yourself from Vadai Sakana. The fourth Gemara is what Harold has said, the famous Gemara Bava Metzia, two people stuck in the midbar, and you only have enough water. So Ben Petira says, okay, you're not going to stand by watching your friend die, share the water and that's it. And Rakiva says, no, chayacha kodmin, l'chayachicha ima. So at first glance, Ben Petira makes no sense. I mean, it's a nice bumper sticker, it's a nice slogan on the car, better to death than watch my friend die, or, we believe in the principle, because that's the whole thing when a fetus is endangering mommy. So certain religions say, okay, so better two deaths than one murder. You can't do anything. We also agree better two deaths than one murder. We just say this isn't murder. In fact, you have a chiyuv to kill the fetus in order to save the mommy. So they point out that in fact, actually, that the Tzitz Eliezer has the shaila about that if a woman who is pregnant and she has cancer, I guess the issue is she needs therapy. So but she doesn't want to do the therapy because she can't have the kids. So the question is, she got to risk her own life because the case will get worse, and for that's part of that issue. So either way, so it doesn't. Ben Petir makes no sense. What do you mean better both die? No, so that's what the Achronim, the Tziv others right now. The pshat is, no, it's not a case where it's a vadai sakana. Basically, you have enough water for 2 days, and you're 2 days away from civilization, but the rescue team is out. Maybe you'll find some food, some water. It's not a vadai sakana. So the question is, can I put myself in Safek sakana in order to save my friend from Vade. The Ben Petira says yes. And Rabbi Kiva in principle said, yeah, I agree with you, it makes a lot of sense. But what could I do? The Torah tells me, Chayecha kol min chayecha. I can't, anything less than that I have to, but not that. So we see from this Gemara about Metzia that there is no chiyuv to risk one's life to save someone else. So it seems to be a fundamental dispute between the Yerushalmi and the Bavli, whichever the Yerushalmi is, but Yerushalmi marshals a chiyuv to put oneself in suffix sakana to save someone else, and the Bavli, these four places, seems to imply that we say one is not obligated to put oneself in danger. In fact, that seems to be the normative halacha. We assume, like the Bavli, one is not obligated to put oneself in suffix sakana, even though Rav Chaim Soloveitchik seemed to paskin otherwise. Rav Shechter brings down in the Nefesh Harav, and I heard him say it as well, that there was a cholera epidemic in wherever he lived, in Brisk, and basically he said he himself, everyone's obligated, the bodies lying all over the ground, he said, and he himself did it, everyone's obligated to go ahead and try to help. Some people died from it. He didn't, but he said that he's apparently, passing, whether he's passing like the Yerushalmi or not, that's the way, unless it was a whole, unless you can't bring riots from that case, but it was a Rasha, but he paskin, it seems to go like Yerushalmi, but it's not the normative halacha. There was a case in Vilna with the Ger Tzedek, this person who was a convert, and what happened was, in Vilna, someone stole something from the church, and apparently if they weren't going to get it back, they were going to kill all the Jews in Vilna. So the Ger Tzedek went to the Vilna Gaon and said, I didn't do it, but if I go to them and tell them I did it, I'll save everyone else. Could I go ahead and basically commit suicide? He said, and maybe they'll have Rahmanas on me because I used to be one of those. Maybe they'll hate me more because I converted. So the Vilna Gaon said, I have to think about it, whatever that means. I'm sure the Vilna Gaon must have had an answer, but maybe and the Ger Tzedek apparently either did it on his own or took it as an answer from the Vilna Gaon that it's okay, and he went ahead and did it, and he was killed. So either way, to the end, and we said, and so therefore we see either Rav Chaim seemed to go with Yerushalmi, but the normative halacha is one that is not obligated. So to put yourself in a suffix sakana. Let me just point out,
What's not the issue? There's also the issue of whether it's a rishus to do it.
Yeah, we'll get to the All right, now I'm just saying, are you obligated? So you shall.
I thought Rav Chaim, he said obligated?
Yeah, Rav Chaim is saying you have to do it. That's the Kiddush of Rav Chaim. He's saying you have.
Rav Chaim paskins like the.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, whether he paskin like the Yerushalmi or he claims the, I don't know, the Lumdis, or maybe he claims he has another Bavli, however he wants to do it. The psak came out like not the normative halacha, which it's not a strange thing with briskers. Rav Chaim doesn't pass like the Shulchan Aruch a lot of times. So they point out that Rav Chaim said Yechayev, but normative halacha is not like Rav Chaim, that one is not obligated. Let me just point out that, but a kidney transplant is different than infectious. Like I'm saying, even if you want, it's not clear to me that even Yerushalmi would say that even if you would hold, even Rav Chaim who held that, let's say in the case of the cholera epidemic, the you were chayev, I don't know if it's the same thing donating because you're taking a risk. Okay, you make it, you're fine. But giving up a kidney and you're in a situation where you're not going to have a kidney the rest of your life. I'm not saying you shouldn't do it, but I'm saying is that I don't know if anyone could say you're actually chayev to give. I don't know if any contemporary posik would say you're chayev to give a kidney. I've seen mitzvah rabbah, commendable, praiseworthy. But there's what to say by infectious disease more, because you're not giving up anything. Meaning you're giving up your life. But once it's over with, it's back to normal if you make it. But they say you have to give up a kidney and be without that. That's far from simple. And also, it's not clear. Also, the Yerushalmi says it's a vadai. So number one, it's a vadai that the person's the person's going to die. In other words, that it's going to be a bad that you'll be able to save him. We all know, or we don't know, by any transplant, but certainly by kidney transplant, it's no guarantee the other person's body is going to take it. That's why before you give one, they walk you through it, because how are you going to feel? I tell someone, let's say you give the kidney, and then it doesn't work, and they incinerate or whatever they do with it. Maybe they donate it to science. I don't know, whatever they do with kidneys. So how are you going to feel? So he used to say, I feel great. I did what God wanted from me, and what do you want? Okay, if you're going to feel that way, then great. If you feel, well, I can't believe it. I just killed myself to give a kidney. So you have to know it's not a simple thing to do, and it's not a simple thing that's going to work. But I don't even think the Yerushalmi would say you're chayav to donate a kidney. That's a step above infectious diseases. So that's the question of one-on-one. What about one for many, one for all, as they say? Would it make a difference to risk one's life in terms of a rabbin? Would that make a difference? So they point out that there's a Meshach Chachma, that's a big chiddush, and not la halacha aliyad, that the Meshach Chachma writes, and we see from Moshe Rabbeinu, a pasuk in Chumash, in Parashat Shmos, when Moshe is about to go back to Mitzrayim, and the pasuk says, Lech shuv Mitzrayima, and the people Mavakshanas Nafshecha are no longer with you, even though they had saras, they were chashiv kamet, but they actually were there. But I guess they were halachically insignificant. They were considered not there. So the Meshach Chachma says, what's masha from the pasuk? If the dozen Avir was still around, then you wouldn't have a chiyuv to go. And in case of, this is the whole Klal Yisrael. This is the beginning of Klal Yisrael. Maybe it's Kodem and Torah, it's no raya, but that's what the Meshach Chachma wants to bring a raya, that Yerushalmi is against the pasuk in Chumash, he claims. That he says the pasuk in Chumash says that Moshe Rabbeinu wasn't obligated to risk his life to save Klal Yisrael. Certainly not chayav to risk his life to save one. We'll answer up the Yerushalmi. And secondly, the Yerushalmi is against the Mishnah and Makis. And the Rambam elaborates on the Mishnah and Makis, that someone's in an Arei Miklat, and Klal Yisrael tzrichen lo, like you're a general in the army, like Yoav ben Tzruya, so you're not allowed to leave the Arei Miklat. So the Or Sameach says, why not? Because this is the issue, because you're not allowed to put yourself in Safek Sakana, even to save Klal Yisrael. And that's the Raya, that's the Mishnah. So therefore the Meshach Chachma and the Or Sameach, they're the same people, by the way, they paskin that you're not chayav to risk your life even to save Klal Yisrael. That's not the normative halacha. We don't assume like the Meshach Chachma. How do we answer him against the pasuk in Chumash? So the Maharal Diskin says, because if you look at the pasuk before, that's not the pshat. Really, Moshe Rabbeinu already, and God worked out he was going to go. He's just telling him, by the way, you don't have to worry, but not that that wasn't a likuva. So if you look at the psukim right before, it's not like the Meshach Chachma. And how do you deal with the Mishnah and Makis? So there are a couple of answers, like the Sri Eish writes, Einachinami. And you would be able to, but it's Xeris Akasav. Sham Tiek Furaso, Sam Tiek Misaso. It's Xeris Akasav. You can't leave the Arei Miklat, but nothing to do with the halacha of putting yourself in danger or not. And there's an interesting sefer, the Chavselas HaSharon, if you've seen, it's a big sefer on Chumash. It's really a halacha sefer on Chumash. I don't know if he's close to finishing all 5 volumes, and he has all these shtickles and amazing shtickles in there like this on everything, and very long. So I think he's a young Talmid Chacham, I hear. It's maybe in the 40s, even 30s, I don't know. So he writes in here, he quotes the Shaila, and there's someone else, a lot of people follow Gedolim today, the kind of like strange people, and they just shepherd them every time they get, and then afterwards they write up a sefer saying, I spoke, and they write all the so he wrote, in the sefer Pikuach Nefesh, so he raised an interesting question. He says, let me ask you something. We know Pikuach Nefesh is docha everything, so why can't he leave the Arei Miklat? So let me ask you something. Have you ever heard, let's say a doctor was committed murder, there's no doubt he's guilty, he's going to put him to death, but this is a special doctor. He's the only one who can do this operation, and he's going to end up saving thousands of lives. So should I not kill him? Because he could, interesting question, but we don't find anywhere that you don't kill him because he could save lives. In other words, pikuach nefesh will take away isurim and mitzvahs, but it's not docha onshim. And golas is an onish. So therefore, that's why so that's why it's not an issue of pikuach nefesh. Yeah, pikuach nefesh isn't docha onshin, and they give different reasons why the Mishnah is not against. But so we assume that all the Gdolei HaPos can bring out that certainly for Hatzalas Klal Yisrael, that we see by Esther, and we find that certainly Hatzalas Klal Yisrael, you could argue you might even be mechuyev to risk your life to Saros. There's nothing left. I think Rav Kook, interesting, makes a distinction between, he thinks for the Rabbim you're not mechuyev, but maybe it's commendable. But for Hatzalas Klal Yisrael, you're mechuyev. Many poskim say even for the Rabbim, perhaps there might be a chiyuv of risking your life to save the many. And perhaps because of what's the reason why one of the big three is you can't kill someone, because who says your blood is redder than yours? So perhaps, who knows, when you're dealing with Hatzalas Klal Yisrael or Hatzalas Rabbim, so then maybe you can say. Again, not everyone's that equal, but then there's more room to say. So Lamaisa, Rav Chaim seems to go with the Yerushalmi that you're chayev to risk your own life even to save a yachid. The most assume not. We assume there's an interesting Radbaz we'll have to conclude on, that it's actually a steer in the Radbaz. But one Radbaz was asked, they were playing games as always, like the Nazis. They said, you know what? Here's a friend of yours. You like him? He's a good friend of yours. I'm going to kill him, but I'll give you an opportunity to save his life. If you cut off your ear, and during there cutting off your ear, it could be death. It's an arm, arm, and he said, then I'll save you. So the Rabbi says, goes into Darachecha, Darchei Noam, and he calls him a Chassid Shota. In other words, you shouldn't do it. But it's not a halachic statement. He's Chassid Shota, at least it means that whether he's not discussed. And in other places, the Radbaz seems to say one has to do it. And the same thing you'll find with, let's say, kidney transplants. It'll be interesting. You'll have the Shuvas of Avadia Yosef, the Sitz Eliezer, and other poskim, and then there's no machlokas in principle. You have to look when the tshuva was written. The tshuva that was written in 1960, it's a different shiloh. Everyone's agreeing that you have no chiyuv to risk your life to save someone else. The issue is how much of a risk it is. And today with modern technology, you always have, it's always weighing the risk. In all these questions, it's always weighing the risk-reward in terms of what you can give up, and what you can't give up. So in terms of that, so the normative halacha is, again, there's no chiyuv, but as Avadi, it's definitely a mitzvah rabbah if you want to give up a kidney, or it's a mitzvah rabbah to, depending on what depending on the risk reward, in terms of that.